Hello and welcome back to another Tech Articles. This one's going to be a deep dive into Simply Static, and our workflow for this one is going to be to deliver a static website that goes to GitHub, and from GitHub goes to Cloudflare Pages, and we're going to leverage Cloudflare Pages polling of our GitHub repo to sync any changes. I have done a few little bits and pieces for pre-setup here. I've already set up my personal access token and added it to Simply Static. I've set up my web form with Fluent Forms to work with Simply Static, and my deliverability of that webhook is through Flowmatic. I do have a video of that on the channel, so you can see how I've done that as well. And I've already signed up for Cloudflare Pages and attached it to the Git. So that just makes things a little bit easier. We don't have to wait for authorization, and there's not too many pages of spinning loading signs. So hopefully that makes things a little bit faster and a little bit easier. So I'm going to first of all give a quick overview of Cloudflare Pages. Cloudflare Pages is a package that allows you to host your static sites from it says Jamstack platforms, but actually it works from your WordPress Simply Static sites to your GitHub and then out. And yeah, they have a free plan, and that's what we'll be using today, the free plan, which is reasonably generous. It'll do a few static sites, that's for sure. Depends how often you build them, to be honest. Once they're there, they're there. If they don't update very often, they'll be fine. The limit here is the 500 builds per month, I would say. You can only build one at a time. Actually, the pro plan seems pretty good to me, which is 5,000 builds per month, which I'd never do more than that. So you could do a lot with that, and it's quite a popular hosting mechanism. I tend to use Bunny.net myself. It literally costs pennies to store a site there a month. I've said in a couple of web groups the last couple of weeks, I'm still spending my $1 monthly minimum. I'm nowhere near it. So yeah, they're not large sites. They don't get lots of visitors. They're like 5, 6, 7 megabytes in size, and yeah, a few thousand visitors a month. It's just not hitting huge amounts of money. So that's why I use Bunny. But this is another alternative. This is quite a popular alternative, and this particular workflow was asked for in a group I'm a member of. So I thought I'd run through it. So we're going to use a site that we've used in a couple of videos before. I haven't terminated it yet, and that is our yoga demo. And what we're going to do is we are going to turn this site, which is currently a full WordPress site, into a static site. Turn that static site to GitHub, and from there it'll be picked up by Cloudflare Pages and deployed to their network. This will be the Git that we'll be using, which is a private repo within this Git user. It's not publicly accessible, but it will be accessible by all the tools that we're going to use. And we're going to put it into a subfolder of here, because I prefer to use subfolders and deploy that way, because it keeps my GitHub relatively tidy. The static sites are all in static sites. So I'm going to go over to our website. I'm going to go back into the dashboard. I'm going to go down to Simply Static. Now there is a web form on here. It's all set up. I will just quickly run through that. It's all set up. I haven't added the webhook. I will add that off screen when I'm done. And yeah, this form is ready to go. It's Fluent Forms 3. I'm using Fluent Forms. I will have to make an adjustment because I'm using Fluent Forms. I think it only affects Fluent Forms. But I will do that off screen. I have set my deploy to GitHub. I've added that it's a personal account. This is the GitHub username. You can see this here. And that is my email address that I've signed up to GitHub with. So that's all up and as it should be. And then we have my personal access token. And the reason I haven't shown you how to do this is because helpfully Simply Static have got a nice little video you can run from YouTube to show you how to do that. My repository is static website, which we looked at a second ago. This is my repo. Now it has to have a README file in it to be accessible, so it has a README file in it. I want it into a subfolder called Yoga Demo. It's a private repo. I want it on the main branch, and I don't need to do webhooks because it polls for regeneration. So I'm going to save those settings, and then we are ready for deployment. So I'm going to go up to activity log. I'm going to push generate static files, and I'm not going to pause this video because actually this doesn't take very long. And what's going to happen now is it's going to convert the site to static. There's only 88 odd files, I think, on this site. It's quite a small site, and it'll take less than a minute or so. So what's happening now is it's caching those pages. It's now going to commit them to GitHub. So eventually a folder will appear here with our static site in it, and that will be our static site uploaded from the website. It's still committing the pages to GitHub. It will not take much longer, I do not think. So we'll continue from there, and as it continues to upload these sites to GitHub for us, it is done. So we'll just wait for it to finish. 50 seconds, and the site's on in the repo, ready to use. And here it is. Now, I said at the beginning of this video I have to make a modification to my contact form, and I'm going to do that before we deploy it so that we can deploy it without the issue attached. And if I scroll right to the bottom, there is a AJAX request in here I do not want, and it's this one here. So let's do that, commit the change, and that just stops 405 issues or this file can't be reached issues on the static site. I'm not sure whether it's a Flowmatic edition, an issue with Simply Static or whatever, but it's just so simple to remove it. It's not really a problem. So we've got our yoga demo here. Now we can't really see it or do anything with it, but we're going to head over to Cloudflare and our Cloudflare pages, and we are going to select workers and pages from our main menu. We're going to go over to pages. We're going to connect to the Git. We're going to select the tech articles Git and static website. We're going to begin the setup. Its project name is static website. There's no framework, there's no build command, there's no output directory, but there is a root directory path, in this case of yoga demo, and that's because we've got it in a subfolder within our Git, so we need to tell it to look into that subfolder to deploy. So we can now save and deploy our site, and that's going to work in the background to check our Git and see if it can access that, and then it's going to attempt to build it. And this doesn't take long either. This is a few seconds, less than 10 seconds usually. And there's a mistake there. I've obviously spelt yoga wrong, haven't I? I did this last time. Yeah, yoga. So easily checked. Go check my build settings. Go to yoga, save and deploy, and then it'll spin up and try and do the same again. It's cloning. It's building, and now it's deploying. And that took 4, 5, 11 seconds. I'm going to continue to the project. That's because I was a bit quick. And that's it. It's done. So allegedly we visit this site and we should see our site is obviously a bit quick. Let's give it a few seconds longer. Okay, while it does that, we're going to map a custom domain. It is there allegedly. It's definitely deployed. So what we'll do is we'll map a custom domain and we'll come back to it. Set up a custom domain. Now we have a domain in this GitHub of this domain in here, so we're going to just put that in, and I'm going to call this yoga.ourdemosite.co.uk. Cloudflare these DNS records for me. It's in this Cloudflare account, so they're going to do it for me. I'll just push activate domain. it'll give me the standard. It can take 48 hours for my DNS records to propagate. While that does that, I'm going to go back to this and see if this has finally appeared, but it hasn't. It's verifying. It'll also install a certificate for us. That has now said it's installed our SSL. So we go to deployments. Let's click and see if we can get to view it on our yoga site. We can get to see it on our own site. For some reason, somebody must have recently released this. I'm pretty lucky we've got a static website, to be honest. So I'm guessing it's been recently released by somebody, and oh, there it is. It's loaded there as well. So now our site is both on our domain name from our Cloudflare account, as well as the pages.dev from Cloudflare's Pages, and that's a working version of our site. So we can use the form to send a message, which I will let you know if I get off screen. And while that's processing that, let's show you, without having to edit it again, show you how quick it is to deploy changes to your site. So if we go back to our generate site, I'm going to clear the log just so that we can see a bit better. And I'm going to push generate again, and that will push to our get again any changes. And in fact, let's cancel that export, and this makes some changes so that they're reviewed straight away on the front page. So we go to all pages and we edit the home page, and we'll change the hot yoga to, I don't know, dog yoga. It's a dog yoga studio now, so we're going to do that. That's updated. We're going to go back to our site. We're going to go back down to generate our simply static files, and that will push that to GitHub. And in fact, I'm going to give it a second, and I'm going to head over to here, and we should see in a few seconds after deployment a redeployment of our repo to Cloudflare Pages. I'm getting impatient, so I'll just go and check our site. It's still committing, so it's working away. It's committed to pages. They're now there. So we go back to our Cloudflare, and there you go. It's picked up that the repo has changed. It now knows there's a change to that deployment. It's going to pick them up. It's going to redeploy them. It'll put them back on the network. And all being well, once it tells us it's done, I'll go to the two versions of the site we have, the pages.dev and our own domain. And our hot yoga studio should now become a dog yoga studio. See what's going on. Deploying, and it's done. It's according to that, it's deployed. So we'll go back and check that's what it says, but it still says it's in progress. Nope, it's now completed. So we'll go to our dev.pages. It still says hot. We'll refresh our page, and it is now a dog studio. And we'll do the same with our actual domain, and we are a dog studio. And that is how quickly it is to update your static sites using Simply Static to send it to GitHub and then onwards to Cloudflare Pages. And that is how you would host a site on Cloudflare Pages from your WordPress site. Hopefully the video was of some use to you. If you could like it, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And if there's something you would like a video on, please comment on a video or on one of the many posts where I've discussed or posted a video. And if I will do some research and see if we can launch a video on it for you.